Hi everyone, this is Justin with theactionreport.com. I'm joined again by Mark Griffin of CueSports International.
And here we are again.
Tara podcast number 2. First, we'd like to thank everybody who watched the podcast from last week and all the feedback we received on AZ Billiards Forums and through Facebook, as well as emails and things like that. We really appreciate all the ideas and comments and suggestions that we got. We really appreciate it and hope you keep it up.
Yeah, even suggestions we don't agree with, I still want them because they open up the thought process. You know? Anything can be civilly debated, I think.
The first thing we're going to do here today, before we get into talking about some of the reaction from last week, plus a few other, we got a lot to talk about. We are going to announce TAR 23, and we're really excited. We've got one player who has done a match with us before, and we've got a new player that I'm real excited to have play a TAR match, because I think he's a pretty exciting guy to watch, and he can really pump up a crowd one way or the other. And that's well, here let me pull this up and
we got something new.
Yeah, we got to look at this. We're
you have been busy.
High tech.
Who is
there we go. TAR 23 is Oscar Dominguez taking on Raj Hundal, December 9th and 10th. If you're paying attention, that is the same time as the Moscone Cup. So the Moscone Cup ends at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Local time.
And we're going to start the match at 7 o'clock local time, which is going to be late for you East Coast guys. But it's going to be...
not a super long race.
No, it's short races, race to 25, playing 10 ball. And it's going to be 2 sets. They're playing 5,000 a set. If they split, they're going to play the third set. They'll come back on Sunday, and they'll play a third set for the entire 10,000. So it's
somebody's going to win or lose 10.
Yeah, somebody's winning. Yeah, somebody's going to win.
And that's pretty sporty on both their parts. They have matched up, and I think they're pretty even if I remember correctly.
Oscar won the last time they played. I believe it was Q Club, and Raj wants another shot, so he's real pumped up for this.
Okay.
And I like Raj's attitude when it comes to these kind of things. The guy gets behind stuff and promotes it, and he's not afraid to voice his opinion.
And I like Raj for the same thing, because he's made some comments that I really disagreed with, but I admire him for saying them. And he puts his name on them, which we were talking about a little earlier too. But this is exciting. Be a great.
So that's going to kick off, as I said, Friday and Saturday following TAR 22. TAR 22 is going off the 2nd through the 4th, the weekend before Moscone Cup. And we actually have a pretty cool little video, a reaction video. Joe Rogan was in town a couple weeks ago for the UFC, and he was over at the studio. And I asked him his opinion on...
And I haven't seen this yet, so I have no idea. I know that you were supposed to do this last week, and you had a glitch.
Yep.
So now we got the unglitched Joe Rogan.
Unglitched. And let me turn this up, and we will go ahead and listen to what Joe has to say. Jen, tell me what you think about the TAR 22. Shane versus Earl.
Shane versus Earl, and it's a race to 100, 9-ball.
Race to 75.
Race to 75. How come
25 a day.
Ooh.
9-ball with the magic rack.
9-ball with the magic rack. Well, obviously, Earl's one of the greatest players of all time when it comes to 9-ball, especially, multiple-time U.S. Open champion, world champion. Shane is the future, though. I see a guy like Shane, and I look at that guy, and I go, that guy's just going to keep getting better. He's not going to stop. And with Earl, it's like about recapturing the greatness of the past, Earl is undoubtedly one of the greatest players of all time. But if you had a bet today, it's hard to bet against Shane. He's just so good, so focused, so young. But then again, Earl did beat him the last time they played, even though it was kind of a gaffy situation with kind of a funky table, big 10-foot snooker table converted to a pool table. It was a little gaffy, It was, put a hitch in your stroke trying to get out. But he played on the same equipment, and Earl got out. So it's just tough to really wrap your head around, you know, because it's all in, you know, how much is Earl practicing, how motivated is Earl? Because if Earl comes in motivated and fired up and confident from the last match, it could be very, very interesting, you know, especially if he gets ahead, gets a lead, and then clings onto it like a fucking jaguar, you know, anything can happen. I don't want to make a prediction, you know, they're two of the greatest players ever, but
Will you be watching?
I'll be watching for sure. I don't know who's going to win now. That's part of the fun.
Power.
Okay.
So there's Joe's prediction. He's not going to make a prediction, but if you had to bet, he's going to go with the kid. So I'd like to thank Joe for taking the time to tell us what he thinks of TAR 22. And I've got next week, I will have probably 6 or 7 minute interview with Shane Van Boeing that we will show. I shot it with him at the U.S. Open, and he was pretty candid about some things, and it was a real good interview, and we'll have that for you next week on the podcast. But
Now, I'm not that much of a techno guy, but you have podcasts and you have this MP3, so people can go to watch this week's later on, and last week's they just go to. Why don't you run down how you can?
well, well, the way you see it is I just started if you go to the actionreport.com homepage, there's a tab at the top on the menu bar, it just says podcasts. Click on that, and that's the archive for our podcast, and you can click on the video link. It takes you to the YouTube page. If you just want the audio only version, click on the MP3 link, and then it takes you to a directory, and just right click on the file you want and save it. Download the MP3.
But it's pretty simple. Takes you straight to YouTube.
And ideally, I've been looking into how to get the thing on iTunes, and I think I got the basic concept of it figured out. Still working on the details, but
And we've had like 800 views of last week's podcast, which we had no idea what to expect. I mean, I expected apples to come crashing down, but I
really appreciate everybody watching.
I think it's really cool. I mean. We kind of live and breathe pool, so we know a lot more than most people out there, all those others out there that know more than we do. But that's hard to believe, isn't it? That somebody knows more than you?
Yeah. And a lot of people know more than I do.
But I think it's just really cool that we after 1 week, we got a lot of positive things. A few negatives, but that's fair because there probably were a few negatives last week. So, everything's good. It's fun.
What was I going to say? Oh, as far as the archives and stuff, I'm going to try to get them up at least by the next day. So it's still fresh because a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be, pretty topical. But going back to TAR 22 and what Joe was talking about, real excited to have that match coming up. And I mentioned it last week, but another cool thing about that match is we're going to have 2 great commentators. We're going to have Jerry Forsyth, who's also doing the commentary for the Moscone Cup, going to be calling TAR 22, as well as Ken Schumann, who has called a lot of TAR matches. Those 2 guys are going to be calling the match, and I think it's going to be really good. And this match, too, we listened. Believe it or not, we do listen. Everybody said no more race to 100. Race to 100 is too boring.
Too long. And we agreed, really.
And so we're trying to get... the next 2 matches are races to 25. The 25 a day for Earl and Shane, playing 9-ball. And something else I wanted to announce we're going to be doing with TAR 22 and 23 is since these matches are going to be shorter, we are going to loop the playback on the pay-per-view. So say you come on and you only catch the last 2 hours of the show live. As soon as the pay-per-view is over for the day, I'll replay it leading up to probably an hour or 2 before the next day. So you can stick around and watch it, or it's not true on demand. It will be looping, but if you miss it, you can come on and if you buy the whole weekend, you can watch that day. You watch it as many times it'll play until the next day.
Now with the Shane and Earl, like you say, 25 race to 9.
Mm-hmm.
5 hours?
What do you mean race to 9?
9-ball race to 25.
Yeah. Just
understood what I said.
Making shit up as you go, aren't you?
5 hours? Probably with breaks 6 hours.
No. 5 hours at the outside. For the Magic rack?
It's 49 games, possibly.
Yeah, no, I think 5 hours is way on the outside. Maybe the first day, because it's always jittery on the first day, but they're both fast players.
They are, but they're going to take a half-hour break somewhere in there.
No, they won't.
Nope. Well,
No.
I know Shane doesn't like
when they played 10 ball, I mean, it was a war. It was a grind.
Yeah.
Neither one of them ever wanted to
Okay.
take a break. First 2 days, we had to make them take a break. The third day, they wouldn't take a break.
Okay.
So
five-ish hours.
yeah, I mean, I think
I'd in my head, I'd figure.
first day maybe 5.
Oh,
Second and third day under.
I will bet you $20
You
it
got me.
lasts over 5 hours.
Which day?
The first day.
Nah, see, we're saying the same thing now.
Okay,
I
no.
said it could go 5 the first.
Okay.
You got me for the second and third day.
No, I have.
I'll
no
bet you
idea.
one of the 2 days goes under 5 hours.
You're making it too tough. Too tough.
Okay.
right.
So what else we got going on? 23, Raj, Oscar. We'll be looking for reactions. Who do you like there? They're playing on this tight diamond.
4 1/8-inch pockets, and those pockets are getting a lot of buzz on the internet. These guys are saying, "Hey, the pros should be playing 9-ball, 8-ball, whatever." A lot of 8-ball aficionados this week, and I'm not going to disagree with them. But you had said, the pros can make 8-ball look awful simple, but I'm not so sure how simple it gets on a 4 1/8-inch
my
pocket.
big thing is this: if you addressed one thing, it's a balance. Playing 8-ball. Here's my biggest issue with 8-ball, and it's not as bad on a big table as it is on a bar table. But okay, if you play 8-ball on a big table with pros like Daz and Shane and Alex, any top guy. And it's even more about the break playing 8-ball than it is with 10-ball.
About breaking them up. Well,
because they got so many options.
Pat Fleming did one of these things
Yeah,
many
I
years
remember.
ago.
Yeah, I remember.
In fact, that table was in college billiards. It went from L.A. down to San Diego, and they were running out from everywhere. I believe Efren won it. Roger Griffiths was on fire. Remember that? This is going back. Geez.
Can I finish
15
what I was
years?
talking about?
Sure.
You want to tell a story about a tournament 15 years ago? The thing is this: if the guys are playing on a regular table and they're running out like water, then you tighten it up to where they're not running it out like water. Now you turn it into a moving game, and then you might as well be playing one pocket. Because when these guys, it's like when you see 2 guys playing on a bar table, there's always clusters and there's tough shots. They'll bump and bang and they'll move balls around. It's not always going to be, and that to me is where 8-ball really sucks.
Yeah, from a spectator viewpoint. From an aficionado, just like a guy that wants to watch one pocket,
Sure,
they
yeah.
love seeing this. Say, "Wow, that's kind of cool." But if you ever did do a professional, I don't like the word there, a money match, you're going to have. Well, you can't do that.
We
for
did.
money match,
We did a bar table 8-ball thing
Yeah.
with Scott Frost and Darren Appleton.
Yeah, but I think if you get into a situation on tight pockets and big tables, I think you have to have some kind of time constraints.
Oh, shot clock would be
Because
mandatory.
You have to, because I read your post, and they were having a match, and the guy will stare at the shot for 10 minutes. Then boom, he's got it all figured out. That will ruin the game.
Yeah, the match I posted on AZ about a match between Shane Van Boeing and Darren Appleton. It's one of the most amazing 8-ball games. It went on forever.
This was at the old Executive West.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were both played phenomenal. If they broke and made
That's
it,
the one who were playing somebody ahead, and Daz run 9-pack, and
I don't know about a
the set or
9-pack.
something like that.
But he ran a big run, and then Shane ran a big run. Shane got the money. Actually, there's a picture on this wall. That picture right there is after that match.
Yeah.
The money we're holding in our hands,
Yeah.
is Darren Appleton's money.
Yeah, and he's been discussed a little bit as far as future matches too. A lot of people would like to see him and Hatch go at it again.
I just want to get Dennis back in action with Tar. I don't care who he plays.
Yeah.
I talked to him at the Open, and he's excited about it. But as far as the 8-ball thing goes, I see some of the benefits of it. To me, if you're gonna have if the goal of playing 8-ball is to get more people involved who know the game, then you play it on the table they play it on. Play bar table 8-ball. Why are you gonna play on a big table when
It's a different game.
Yeah.
You know, and we had some tremendous success for a couple of years when we did the Grandmasters at our nationals. And one night we had like 8 world champions, former world champions, playing bar box 8-ball, the same exact rules that the amateurs did. We had 800 people watching. Yeah. And it was awesome. You know, but we had that many of those players because we had the Matchroom was doing world
Pool Masters.
World Pool Masters, right? And then we were doing the 10-ball right after it. So, no, it was excellent, and it was really an opportunity to see how they played, and it was fun for everybody. I have some real serious doubts about playing 8-ball on a big table for the same reasons. I know everybody says, "What about 10-foot tables?" Hey, 10-foot tables are great for a one-on-one match. You can't; they're just not manageable for any kind of large venues, in and outs.
Well, no, I mean, when you're talking about loading in 16 tables, I mean,
nobody's going to.
What's a 10-foot table weigh? 3,000 pounds?
No, it's not that heavy, but the problem is you
it's
can't.
It's over 2,000 pounds.
It's probably
right?
I don't
Greg told me it was like not 2,200, something like that.
Well,
it was something dumb.
One of these weigh about 1,200 pounds. The slate on this thing is about 900 pounds.
Okay.
Well, the 5x10 is what, 25% bigger? So add another 300 pounds.
Right.
So add another 500 pounds. You're still on
maybe with the cart, because it was something about.
No.
Anyway.
But that's not the point. The point is you can't build a table that gets used once a year.
Yeah.
And they don't fit in trucks very well. Nothing fits them very well. You know, so it's great, but it's not economically feasible. But I'll tell you what, I still love the discussion on it. Because when you have these things,
I want one right here for certain matches, or access to one. I think that's something that would be nice to have stashed in a warehouse.
This is the venue that it would be great for.
Yeah.
You know.
So I mean, I think you'll see. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that thing with Earl and Shane, Earl was on to something, because in that type of format, that 10-footer. Now I'd like to see one that played right. I mean, I'd like to see this table bigger. This exact table.
4 1/8-inch pockets, man.
Well, no, this exact table bigger. This table is easier than the one Shane and Earl played on.
Yeah.
I mean, even at 10 feet.
But I will say something that I know Earl. I watched most of that match. I wasn't there, and Earl really did catch a groove. But I watched the tape of him playing Parika last weekend at Amsterdam. It looked the same. You know, when he's in stroke, it doesn't make any difference what he's playing on. It's just 2 strokes, everything.
He just runs out.
The guy is amazing. A little volatile at times, but as a pool player, he's amazing.
Yeah. What else have we got going on?
Well, we were talking about 8-foot tables and matches and this and that, and somebody
actually we're talking about 8-ball on 9-foot tables, but
okay.
Details don't mean anything.
I'd like to know details. What are details?
I got no time for details.
Yeah. Well, you had a couple people ask.
Brooklyn J asked a good question. I think he's on. I think he's here. There's Brooklyn.
You lead. I'll follow.
Yeah. And he sent me a question. It was a question for you, and he wanted to know what your opinion is on the WPBA situation, and that you actually tried to run for election onto the board, and for whatever reason didn't happen. But his question was, do you think if you were elected, you would have been able to make any difference in where they're at now?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer. I'll speculate a little bit. I was asked to run for the board. I wish I had the opportunity to run, because I think I could have had a little bit of an impact, but, you know, one person can't change the world there, and you've got a lot of people have their mindsets. Their model it's a tough model in this marketplace. And where they made their opportunity, or their best opportunity, was a few years back, and where they made their screw up, and no bones about it, is the people that were on board with WPBA that basically forced Peg Lidman to quit, fire, change occupation. I don't care what you call it. She was the glue that kept them together. When she took it over, she took it from like 4 or 5 events, ran up to 8 or 10 or 12 events, almost $2 million in prize fund, and 2 years later they were down to 4 or 5, 6 events. You know, they women sometimes collectively too don't take criticism too well, and you get these cliques, and they don't work too well. It's unfortunate.
You're going to get some email about that one.
Well, I'm not
Please send your email to Mark at playcsipool.com.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but there were some real issues there, and all things change, but some of the women just don't want to change, and they have to.
So what's your view? I mean, what do you think is going to happen in the future with the WPBA?
Well, you know, if they get any smaller, they're going to lose the attractiveness. they used to have a hammer because they had 6, 8, 10 events. And pretty soon, they had this farm system where you couldn't even play in their qualifiers.
It was awesome. I mean,
well, it's disintegrating. It's wrapping around their ears because there's that was the dream. I'm gonna play in this little tournament. Well, you got to join our organization. $25 here, $2,500 there. These little streams, and I think the women got a little too heavy-handed, and I've run into it. I mean, we tried to do a bar table tournament, and you were streaming.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of the women come up and win $3,000-4,000, and we really didn't want to jeopardize them because they said, "Oh, you can't put me on the streaming table." I said, "Wait a minute. You're good enough to come and take the money, but you're not good. You can't play on the streaming table." Mm-hmm. We tried to address it with the WPBA. There was a little inconsistency at the U.S. Open 10 ball. We paid a sanctioning fee, but they just didn't. It was a whole different thing with the bar table. It's not acceptable. And this year, if you're playing in the event, be prepared to be on the streaming table.
That's kind of my feeling. If you're there for the added money,
then... We can't start making different rules for different people. You just can't do it. Yeah. It's not like it's a money-making proposition here. It costs $3,000 to go up there and set up and do this and do that, everybody thinks there's so much money in all these things, and it's a love of labor.
Labor of love. Yeah.
Did it again. But
that's one thing that I agree on is, if you're going to come to the tournament, and if you're going to come to a tournament that's added money and they're streaming there, then if I'm the promoter, if I'm the person putting it on, then that's going to be stated as a condition of you playing in a tournament, because that's a way for either a sponsor who's giving money to the promoter, who's adding money, can gain exposure, or now if there's some kind of television rebroadcast or something like that.
That's different. We're nowhere near that.
No, exactly. And what's funny to me is I've heard some people who have said, "Well, I want $100 to play on a streaming table." They're the same people that they'll run them out on ESPN and they won't give them a dime, and they'll be on ESPN for 20 years and they'll never see a dime from it. Yeah. But that's the allure of TV and things. Sure. So I see both sides of it.
There are both sides, but you have to make your decision. And now maybe we wouldn't take this position, and I'm referring more here at the U.S. Bar Table Championship that's coming up in Reno in February. Mm-hmm. We may have not taken this firm of a stand, except the women are having such a hard time making money that they're going to come to. They want to take our money. Mm-hmm. Well, we have to be able to show them. And the real thing is, we had one of the best matches ever that we could, and out of courtesy, we didn't show it last year. And Melissa Little, who's a good player, but she knocked Glenn Atwell out of the tournament last year. Now, how cool is that?
Well, yeah,
Glenn, here's the guy. He's a monster.
Well, the year before he won the all-around, right?
Yeah, he won 2 out of 3. He came in. It was just unbelievable, and we couldn't show it. Well, it's crazy. Yeah. It's wrong, and can't do it anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and the way I look at it, anything like that, whether it's seating, streaming, whatever it is, as long as everybody knows up front what it is before you go in,
that's the way it is.
Then it doesn't get any more fair than that.
Well, and I think
if you don't like it, don't show.
But I think
if enough people don't like it, then whoever's putting on the event will either change or
go away.
Yeah.
But I think we try to be fair, probably to a fault.
So what else we got going on?
Well, I can tell you one.
Yeah, what?
That nobody knows.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I know. Want me to tell you?
Yeah, tell me.
The official table of this year's Moscone Cup will be a diamond table.
As a matter of fact, it will be.
Yep.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. So perhaps Raj and Oscar will like it a little bit more. Now they don't have to go jumping from table brand to table brand.
Yeah, well,
but this one's got a little tighter pockets.
Let's see, neither one of those guys are on the Moscone Cup team this year.
You're absolutely right.
Did you know that?
See, I can't keep up with everything, but you're right.
Yeah.
See?
See what I got to fade, folks?
Yeah, it's tough.
But yeah, that's real. That's actually cool news.
It is. Diamond's pretty excited about it, and I think.
There isn't really. I can't think. It's got to be the most exposure. Possible.
Except in the U.S. where Diamond sells tables. So, Diamond...
and then therein lies the rub, as they say.
We're really
So you have all these people in Europe going, damn, I really like that table. I want to buy one. They call it the factory and they say, nah. If you pick it up, we'll sell it to you.
We've sold some tables over there. You know, I mean, when the IPT was around, Ronnie O'Sullivan, they wanted to get a table for him, and I think they aired it over. So I know there's a couple of tables over there. Yeah, how do you like that?
I wonder what it
How do you
costs
like
to
them
overnight
apples?
a pool table.
Yeah,
That's strong.
yeah. So anyhow,
So
it's exciting. It's exciting.
Is that a one-year deal? Is it an ongoing thing, or
I can't go into the details.
somebody couldn't get the Brunswick here on time? What
I have
happened?
no idea. All I know is that Chad, our very efficient #1 man at
Chad's a
Diamond,
gangster when it comes to this kind of stuff.
he's
He gets
so
shit
good.
done,
He's
man.
so good that it's scary.
Yeah.
Him and Luke started talking, and they put it together, and I would expect us to see diamond tables in the Moscone Cup for several years.
Good.
I won't go
Good.
any further than that. But
Is it going to be a regular old standard, or is it going to be the pointy one?
I do not know. They play the same. They're the same table. You're talking about the Paragon, the one that the women use.
With
I don't know.
With the funky legs.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Paragon, just because it's a TV thing, and it's hard to say. But it's pretty exciting. It's great news. So everything makes progress.
Somebody had a question here. Does Diamond have any relationship with Gabriel's anymore? Did they ever have a relationship with
We did.
Gabriel's? Billiard tables?
We were their representative of billiard tables, and in Europe, they were our representatives of pool tables. And that kind of went away a few years ago. For what it's worth, and I just found this out last week, Diamond still has 6 or 7 9-foot Gabriel tables.
Pool tables?
Pool tables. I don't think we have any billiard tables. They were having a real hard, they moved their plant a couple of times. So they availability
I don't
was pretty
keep
good.
up with
Yeah.
Belgian pool table makers.
Well, they're,
Belgian, right?
but if somebody's interested, they're a good table.
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
Well, that's what actually Shane played on forever at Lucky's before they put a diamond in. Down
They're
in the basement.
similar. I'm going to say 20 years ago, maybe 3-4 years after Diamond actually got up and running, Gabriel's bought 20 tables of Diamonds. So they were. It's kind of a long story, but anyhow, if somebody wants a Gabriel's, call Diamond, call Chad.
There you
Need
go.
to get rid of them because we don't make them anymore. I mean, never did make them.
Right.
So.
So what else have we got going
Well,
on? We had the
Some people want to discuss the Rio a little bit. I don't want to get
Yeah.
into it. I want to address the question. I don't want to talk about the Rio too much right now because it'll confuse people. We're still in the planning stages. I could tell you something right now, and by the time it rolls around, it's
2
probably
years
going to be. Yeah, it's basically 2 years out. It's July of 2013. This year in May, we're still at the Riviera for the last time. They've treated us right. It's going to be. We're leaving, but that's not tickled about it. I think it's a great move for us. I'd rather talk about the move to the Grand Sierra and Reno.
No, I think that's
awesome
a big deal. Have you figured out? We mentioned last week on the podcast that we're going to have 16
16 9-foot
9-foot
pro-ams.
tables, and looking for something to do with them. Of course, keep in mind now, there isn't any money to add, but we got 16 9-foot
Well, it's really
tables.
unfortunate. We're doing our bar table. Now, normally we had 32 bar tables. That's the most we could fit at the Sands. At this venue, we have up to 40,000 square feet, so we're bringing in 40 tables. In addition, we're bringing in the 16 tables because the World PPA is having their event on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, it's a handicap system, but they have allowances so anybody can play in it. And that's going to be a $110 entry fee. It's handicapped 9-ball. But we're going to move the tables in on Sunday or Monday previous. So we're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days of 16 tables, and we need to do something. Might have some one pocket. We could have just different minis. I've had a lot of interesting suggestions. Full rack bags.
Now here's my suggestion to Mark. As I said,
we're open.
yeah, if anybody out there wants to have a tournament, if you're a straight pool guy, if you're a one-pocket guy, and you've always wanted to put on a pool tournament, you want to put up $3 or $4 or $5 grand, something like that,
And
to
it
put together
wouldn't
a
take a
tournament.
lot in this situation.
No, I mean it's all right there.
Everything's there.
Yeah.
But if we do an event, like if I favor one pocket. If somebody says make your decision right now, I'd probably do a one pocket with little banks thrown in. But the maximum that's going to be added is $1,000.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't warrant it. I mean, we're adding $25,000 to the bar table, and the majority of that's coming out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And at least we get, and this is the idiosyncrasies of the billiard industry, but when people play on the bar tables, they put in $1. When they play on the big tables, they put in nothing in this situation. So we have to charge green fees and this and that. And everybody has to look at it from our viewpoint. We're not going to make any money on it. I'd just rather not lose too much. But I'm open to suggestions. I mean, we've had a lot of, please email me, call me, do something. Let's make something happen because the tables are there.
Yeah, 16 9-foot tables, in a nice hotel. I mean, it's...
Yeah, this hotel is pretty skookum. Yeah, here we go again.
For all of you who weren't here last week, I'll translate from the Alaskan, that means cool.
Yeah. It's a $39 rate, that's double occupancy, and $49 rate on weekends. 50-lane bowling alley, 20 restaurants, free shuttle, no resort fee.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
It's first class. And we need to give them a good show, so maybe next year they'll give us a little more help and the added money, we make this thing grow. This could turn out to be a monster venue. We have 40,000 square feet. That's the size of one of the Riviera ballrooms, for just generalities. In theory...
Really, that big?
Oh, yes. In theory, we could put 80 bar tables and probably 80 big tables in that room. Not quite. No, I'm exaggerating. 40 big ones and 80 small ones, probably. It's crazy how big
what
it
would
is.
you ever need 40 big tables
Well, I'm
for?
just saying if we ever wanted to do a Derby City out here or whatever, there's always been, hey, let's do a thing. Well, we have the venue now.
Yeah.
But so come out and support it. It's you know.
And if you got any ideas what to do with those 9-footers, fire them out. We'll listen.
Yeah. And while we're talking tournaments and everything a little bit, I'm going by what some of the feedback was. A lot of people kept coming up, well, here's what you need to do for the pro players and do this and do that. Remember, I'm an amateur organization. I do the big table stuff because I really like it and I love it. My goal is not to go out there and create a pro tour, or several people said, but Mark really pushes 10 ball. No, I just pushed an event that we could get BCA points for, and 10 ball at the time, a couple of years ago, is still a respected game. It was fairly new on the scene, but everybody keeps saying 9 ball's broken. I think 10 ball's a better discipline. And then we brought in the one pocket, but WPA and the BCA points, one pocket doesn't work. Straight pool doesn't work.
Right.
So really now we're having a lot of discussion on 8 ball, and yes, 8 ball would work. It's a recognized game. And we're going to discuss it. And in 2013, there's a good possibility we might bring in 8 ball or straight pool or both. But I only do the 10 ball, the professional 9-foot stuff is because I think it gives our players an appreciation of one step level higher. I'll think, wow, that's how it's supposed to be played. And it educates them a little bit more. But I don't want people to start thinking that I'm just pushing to do all these pro things, because I'm not. But we have 7,000 amateurs. It makes only common sense. Let's try to work together. Because I am a big fan of the amateurs and the pros need to work together.
Yep.
So.
And one of my favorite topics on AZ Billiards this week.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
Oh, yeah.
Your buddy.
That's right.
Wow.
Actually, I get along good with Charlie. What's your opinion on Charlie Williams being named captain of the United States Moscone Cup team?
Well, it has sure been a overwhelming topic. You can't even keep up with the threads. Sometimes there's 3, 4, 5 threads between this and that and everything else. There's so many aspects to that question. I see some real conflicting issues.
Yeah,
because,
like what?
Well, Charlie Williams is the mover and the shaker behind ABP. I know he isn't president, but believe me, he is the mover and the shaker. And you've got, so you might as well just call it the ABP tournament almost. Well, because you got Johnny Archer and Sean Putnam and Rodney. They're all officers of ABP. And
Right.
Charlie
Well,
Williams.
but the players all won their spot legitimately.
Absolutely. I'm not questioning that. But I do think you have some conflict issues in that they're two of the players, Archer and Rodney, are under contract with Dragon Promotions. But really, this is a small industry. I'm not saying that's really a big deal either. I think that since Charlie was in the running to be on the team and has been on the team, let's extend this a little bit. What happens if next year Charlie is on the team? Well, you can't be maybe you can be a captain, and they've never done that before.
Well, it falls back to the golden rule, and that's the man with the gold makes the rules.
So. I'm not going to argue that Matchroom made the wrong choice. It's their game. They can do anything they want. I do not think they saw this coming.
Well, see, the thing of it is, I don't think there was anything to see coming, because I don't think they're going to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, I'm
I
going
mean,
to agree with you.
it's, you know, to match.
It's made for TV.
Well, no, to match room, like, and one guy did make a good. I mean, I disagree somewhat, but Pro9 said, you know, AZ basically is kind of a mouse fart in the wind when it comes to a company like Matchroom, and.
Well, I disagree with that too.
Well,
and
no, the thing of it is I'm going to agree with him, because I'm not saying it's right, but I do kind of agree with him on that point, because, you know, at the end of the day, you're talking about, you know, I mean, now, is it going to affect the bottom line? You know, if you had 500 people call up and say, yeah, I don't want my tickets anymore, or you had a mass sell-off,
so it makes no
that's
difference.
my point.
And it doesn't show in the U.S.
Right.
But I think that
I'm not saying I think that's right, but I'm just saying
yeah.
I agree that I think that in the real world that
Yeah.
is true.
But I would also think, because there's a couple of people that posted saying that, but that may be true, that it's really nothing to shout about, but the knowledgeable, AZ Billiards is the most knowledgeable forum for discussion.
Yeah.
And you should at least stick your nose in there and see what's going on, if you're in the industry. I think,
Well,
getting
you know,
back to the question.
a lot of people take the view, a lot of industry people I know, that they don't want nothing to do with it.
And
We kind of talked about that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some real issues why you shouldn't get involved, but you
Yeah.
can at least lurk.
Yeah.
But getting back, and we'll answer that one too. I don't think Charlie Williams was the proper choice, because I think he's too active as a player. I think, and this is just a philosophical thing, and I was reading, and I guess Johan, is that how you pronounce his name, the European coach? He's not a player. He is strictly a coach. I think they could have used, in America, we don't have that many of their people who are just coaches, but all the players are capable. What you need is somebody that can rally them and make them a team. And there are some posts. Make sure they're in bed by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but those
Within
guys
reason.
aren't going to go for that.
But that's why the Europeans have been winning, because they are disciplined.
Well,
Somebody needs
they
to rein
look. I really think the Europeans look at it completely different than the Americans.
do. But there's nothing to say that the Americans.
And the talent level over the years is you know, I mean.
These short races, anybody can win. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, anybody can win, but still, I mean.
Now, I just think that.
Well, didn't the Americans win like the first 4 or 5 Moscone Cups? I mean,
Oh.
just ran through them.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute that to? I would say somebody got better or somebody got worse.
Absolutely, somebody got better. But
So
there's
if
a lot of
anybody
things-
can win, how come somebody
Well,
didn't?
well,
I mean,
the other
the
issue
Europeans
is,
flat got better.
But I would like a couple things decided. I think that they should decide what really is a captain supposed to be. And I'm curious, is the Moscone Cup only the U.S. or is it North America? Europe's like 38 countries. Now, I kind of feel like they're ganging up on us a little bit. They take
Well, yeah, and
you know,
Appleton lives in Pennsylvania now.
yeah, well,
You know, I mean, Thorsten's lived here forever.
Yeah,
Mika's
Mika,
lived here
yeah.
forever. You know, and I don't hold that against them. But the one interesting point that I saw brought up numerous times regarding Charlie was, you know, whenever it suits him, he'll claim Korea in a heartbeat.
yeah, that's, and I'm not, and some people said, man, that's almost racist. That's not racist.
No,
You know, that's just, and if anybody's to blame Charlie. He's Korean Dragon. But it's an issue that you want to
that's
brand
so funny
somebody.
to me. How is
I
it
mean,
racist?
you want to be rah American.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think you should get somebody that's, I mean, I know I can get shot at this, but I think the best choice for captain would have been Earl Strickland. If you want to just absolutely rally the fans.
Well, I think
show-
the root cause.
and Dennis would have been another
Dennis
great
would have
one.
been a
And
great
Dennis
one.
was right there. But
Yeah.
then, that's the same problem that I disagree with Charlie. I have to disagree with Dennis for the same reason. He's still a young player.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be a player again. I don't think it's proper you be a player, then the coach, and go back and be a player with the same players you coached the year before.
Yeah.
That's bad chemistry. That's bad makeup. They should have gone to one of the old guards. Alan Hopkins was mentioned. I think he
Hopkins
probably
would have been a great
real
one.
good choice.
You know, I didn't think of that. Allen would
And
have been
Kim
a jam-up
Davenport
choice.
was a couple years ago.
Kim would be good, but that's a good point. Allen, I think, is that everybody respects Allen.
Yeah.
You know, and that would have been a great choice. Yeah.
And Buddy Hall, his health is so questionable.
Yeah.
But you need somebody that's aware of strategy and how to win. And that's another reason why I actually think Earl's so good, because I had some discussions with Earl, and he can explain why the long cue stick, why this.
that Earl's with all the history.
I agree. They may not be willing to.
The
That's a
only
crapshoot.
Yeah. No, the only reason for Earl is for ratings if you were going to put a camera on Earl.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it comes down to. I mean, I don't know what happened. You know, all I know is 2 out of the 3 guys are signed with Charlie. If you would have asked me before this happened,
Yeah, conflict.
no, if you would have asked me who's going to be a Moscone Cup
Oh.
honorary captain,
You would have told
it
me.
would have never occurred to me in a million years to pick Charlie Williams. I mean, and honestly, the only reason I can think of to pick Charlie Williams is because Johnny Archer and Rodney Morris asked you to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
the only reason I can come up with, which is fine. You know, I mean, they're looking out for their buddy, but you know.
And I think Luke has made mention to somebody, or somebody from Matchroom said something. Well, they're trying to get younger demographics, and I can understand that too. I mean, remember, we don't even get to watch this thing.
Well,
in the
you know,
US.
that's a point I didn't think about. I mean, it's possible if they're broadcasting in Asia, Charlie's got a presence over there.
Yeah.
You know, he's got. So I mean, that would make sense.
Bottom line is he's been appointed captain, and some people have taken a pretty hard line on it. It's just a game. It's a made-for-TV game, so let's keep it in its perspective. But it has brought out some real interesting comments, and I know you've said, you know, if anytime anybody wants to,
I'd love to have Charlie come sit down.
He wants to come in, or
Charlie,
Rodney, or
Johnny,
just,
Rodney,
yeah,
all of them.
Yeah,
Get Team USA in here.
yeah.
And you know, and that's the thing is, I'm not. You know, I don't know. When that type of situation, it really is. It's one of those things to where, you know, I've made decisions with tar things before, and I tell people the same thing I would expect to hear from Matchroom. You know, it was my decision to make.
Yeah.
That's the choice I made.
I'm not going to argue that they have the right
You
to
know?
make any decision they want to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but I just think they could have made a better decision. And you know, the market's so fractured now. But I hate to see this thing just keep blowing apart like it is. But that's life in the big city.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you what, the reaction online. I mean, one guy who canceled his tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes the feel of the thing. You know what I mean?
Does
It really does
it
change
really
the feel
does?
of the thing.
Yeah.
And
I don't think that'll affect the end product.
no.
One.
well, I think Team Europe.
What? I don't know. See, I actually feel Charlie is capable of being a very good coach. I just don't think he's.
I don't think
I
don't think the coach makes that big a difference to the Americans, because I don't think the American
are disciplined.
well, not even disciplined, but pool in America is such a lone wolf individual game. You know, it really is. And when you don't get to be at a high level, it was funny. Joe and I were talking about this when he was here. We were talking about great player excellence, people who reach the top of their profession. You know, you don't get there doing the same things that everybody else does, because everybody else is as great.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Yeah.
and anybody that's great, you have to have some measure of ego,
Oh yes.
and some more than others. And even the ones that don't really show it so much, you better believe it's there.
Sure. That's.
And to me, in America, in pool, the top guys, you know, they're so independent that it's really tough.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, how do you coach and how do you lead in even that in a race to 5?
Yeah.
To me, the biggest thing that the Moscone coach does, and sometimes the team makes a decision, not the coach, and that's matchups.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the bottom line for
Yeah.
who do you play, who do you put in,
And that's.
who
how
do you match
know?
up with,
Yeah.
you know, and all these guys know each other, so
Sure. Yeah.
it'll be. So to me, that's the dynamic. That's where the coach comes in. You know, maybe he'll be good. You know, and one thing's for certain: if he wins, he'll look a lot better. If he loses, he's going to be a dog. Yeah.
Well. Yeah, but ego is it's definitely a part of it, and that gets back to one of the things we talked about last week: is why do player organizations never work? And one of the major reasons is way too much ego of the player members.
Well, that
I mean, that's just my opinion. You know, I know it was discussed last week. It was mentioned in a couple of the threads, and the history has shown that player organizations run by players have a very short
Well, to me,
shelf life.
it's always a chicken or an egg thing. You know, you can have the organization, but without the money for a tour, you don't get anything. You know.
Well-
so I mean, to me, it all comes down to one thing: somebody's got to put the events together. I mean,
Well,
that's the bottom line.
that's-
The only way
it's,
the way for any organization, in my opinion, is you've got to put on your own events. If you can't put on your own events, then you're just pissing in the wind.
I don't know. I'm going to agree and disagree. In the women, they did fine, you know.
Yeah. Well, the women had it. The women had the system.
had it.
I
They
mean,
had
it was perfect. You know, you had so many spots on tour, and there was a path. If you want to because I was talking to Greg Sullivan today on the phone about some things, and we were talking about maybe the future of going forward for pro tournaments will be smaller fields and higher entry fees, minimum 1,000. You know, maybe 32-man fields, $1,000 entry for stuff like that. And you know, kind of my feeling is, if you can't find $1,000 to play in a pool tournament, you're probably not a professional. If you can't find somebody that will put you in a pool tournament for $1,000, you're probably not a professional.
Yeah. But in Mark Griffin's opinion, there aren't 32 professional quality pool players in this country.
No, I
think
agree.
once you hit about 16, you start running out of air.
Yeah, when you hit 16, but then you've got 40 right below that could beat any one of those guys
on any given day.
Yeah.
But as far as top tier,
Right.
and it's a sad state of affairs. Go back 30
Not
years.
really. I don't think
go
it's a
back
sad
30
state.
years.
I think there's more good players now than there's ever been, especially when you start
Well, I don't
looking at
know.
international scale. Yeah.
Well, international scale, obviously. In the U.S., I don't know. U.S. pool, Richie Florence had some humongous tournaments early 80s.
Yeah, but you know what? You know why I know I'm right?
Because you're bigger?
No. I could tell you exactly why I'm right. Because Buddy Hall told me so. It was at the last City Open, and I asked Buddy this very same question. I said, Buddy, were the players better back then, or are they better now? He said, 15, 20 years ago when I went to a tournament, I only had to worry about beating 3 or 4 guys. I come to a tournament now, and every living human runs out.
Well, okay, looking at that viewpoint, and a lot of
Next topic.
a lot of that's the
right.
equipment. A lot of that's the equipment too.
Sure,
So we can
yeah,
have
that's
that
what it
debate.
is. That's what it is. It's the
We can go
equipment.
around there forever.
I think a big part of it is access to knowledge.
Oh yeah.
Access to knowledge, because you know, you can literally, if you want to, you can get online and watch. And when I say not just instructionals,
Really watch.
but no, you can go on YouTube and you can watch 50 hours of effort.
Oh well, sure. But you can really get into every nitty gritty and every discussion and really get an understanding. Well, when I learned to play, you had to earn everything. Nobody told you anything. But here you got
Well, that was between gathering firewood and pumping in water.
Right. But you had Wu at 16 years old was world 9-ball champion. The next year, and then when maybe still 16 or 17, world 8-ball champion. What, in 3-4 years he became the best player in the world?
I wouldn't go that far.
That's pretty strong. It was strong enough.
I know a kid that'll play him some.
That's right.
Get Wu over here. See if he wants some of what Alex got.
Woo.
Yeah. See if Wu likes that break. See how he likes it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Well, I've said it before because I'd love to see this. I love challenges. You know.
Anybody out there knows Wu?
Well,
I got a spot for him.
yeah, because Shane will play anybody in the world.
10-ball.
10-ball,
Right
race to 100, and maybe even shorter. Who knows? But right there,
Yeah.
or on a 9-foot, or on a bar box 8-ball.
Yeah.
Anybody in the
Bar box,
world.
8-ball. Anybody.
That's pretty
Guaranteed a $10,000 set,
strong.
and guaranteed we'll pay you too.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting odds on the money.
Yeah, so that's interesting, and I admire Shane's confidence and his ability to just.
And
he's not flaky,
you'll see that in the video.
Yeah. Well, what else we got there, young man?
What else we got going on?
Well, Kelly Fisher is the new world's women's 10-ball champion. Everybody kept saying, can the Chinese be beat? Well, keep in mind, this event was not held in China, so the Chinese numbers were much, much less.
Where was it? I don't even know
Philippines.
anything about it.
It was in the Philippines. And it was a little disappointing to me. It was very disappointing as far as the exchange of information. You could not find out who was playing whom, and when they did it was only a 48-man field. They had 8 6-mans or 6 8-man round robins. I think they had 8 6-mans. And after the first 2 rounds, they quit posting scores. You didn't know anything till 3 days later, and I found out who the final four were. And that's not the way you run a world tournament. It made me just say one more thing. We have been working on this fantastic system, the CTS On Demand, which we've been running our nationals on for the last 2 years. In fact, if you want to see what we've got, just ctsondemand.com. And you can go to probably about 40 or 50 tournaments we've run on it. Make sure if you're looking for something you don't see it, there's a little tab that says show all tournaments instead of just recent ones. Punch your name in. If you played in any of our events, boom, it pulls up. You can poke around. It'll tell you who you played, what table you played on, what the score was, everything. I talked to Ian Anderson. It was a Worlds event, but they didn't support it that much because Charlie said he would do it because it was a Dragons promotion event. I believe that's the last World event that Dragon will be doing. Anyhow, we will be making our software available because we're web-basing it, and it should be effective January.
Yeah.
So hopefully, because you have to have the fans, we have to know what's going on, or you just disgruntle them, and then they lose interest, and it's nonsense. But not to belittle, Kelly Fisher is now the reigning world's 10-ball champion, and congratulations. Mm-hmm. You know, she plays pretty sporty at times. She could probably beat you.
She plays great. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a little disappointed that Guy Young Kim didn't win.
I believe she's going to be playing up here at the women have that event coming up in Oregon.
Which that's pretty cool.
And the money is dwindling for the women. We'll get back on the women. Like Udon won't even come over here anymore, I don't think.
Yeah.
By the time you travel, then you can't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There was a question up here. Somebody asked about the BCAPL Nationals. Is there ever a chance to do some kind of a pro-am where a pro will play with a team?
I think that'd be great. And I'd like to, when we move to the Rio, we're going to have more tables, more flexibility, and we're going to juggle things around. In fact, this year we juggled things around a little bit. We have the Scotch Doubles is actually starting on Thursday. The Rio's taking some of our space from us too, because they're remodeling and doing this and doing that. But I think
the Riviera?
I'm sorry, the Riviera. See, that's why. Yeah. See,
just try to keep you in the line.
I know, but that's a great idea. Pro-am. People have come up with it before. We actually we've had people suggest you raffle a spot off for a pro-am, just a one-on-one, like a doubles tournament. And you raffle the spot off, and you give half the money to charities.
I think the team dynamic's pretty cool. It almost acts like a coach, but
yeah, the problem being there, you'd have to do it on a different, because you can't let it interfere with the main.
No, it'd have to be a separate thing. Yeah,
and that's where you run into the problem. We're playing 16, 18 hours a day now, but we'll have more tables in 2013. So that's a great question.
Big Truck said Charlie did the Pro-Am team thing. What do you think about that?
Wonderful. Never heard of it. You know, that's more power to him. Hey, Charlie's done a lot of cool things. That's not where my problem with Charlie comes from.
Here's a good question from Steve. Why do you not have a booth where the pros come sign autographs around the bar table area?
If you could corral them, we'll give them the place to sign. The problem is it's just like you were saying, they're independent. Too many of the pros, and I'm not down on the pros, but their work ethic has gotten a little challenging the last few years. First of all, if they're not going to get compensated, most of them are not going to show up. And I think it insults someone for $10 a signature. Then it's really.
Well, I mean, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but playing devil's advocate.
Please.
The guy says, "Look, I spent my money to come here. This is what I do for a living." I spent all my, this is what I do in my life. It would be like asking your mechanic, "Hey, can you just walk outside here and tell me what's wrong with my car?"
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to disagree with you, but there has to be some kind of level of working together, and that's where the amateurs and the pros need to work together. By the same token, if I was having an event, and if I put in there and explained to everybody, we really want you guys to participate, and they'd say, well, why should I do that? Because it'll help make the event bigger next year, and this and that. That stuff doesn't sink in.
Well, not only that. Well, you know why? It's because they've heard that for so many years.
Well, and you're right. And
that really is. When you hear, it's like crying. It's like, and I mean, it's just.
Oh yeah, people are saying
when you hear it it's like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and take a shot at just getting what I can get right now.
Yeah. Well, they have been.
And I don't know how you fix that.
Well, you be honest, and I'll tell you one thing. I get controversial at times. I'm not sure why, but I will say one. If I say I'm going to do it, it gets done. 99% of the time it's under my control, but if you're doing a tournament, you get paid on the spot. And I think I've shown what I'm pretty authentic and real and all that stuff. And it insults me sometimes when people say, well, you got to post this or you got to do that. I'm sorry, I just don't go there.
Well, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, what I'm kind of getting at, and what I think, I understand what you're saying, but what's the answer for the pros? I mean, do you come up with some kind of, okay, here, if you sign autographs for an hour, we'll give you a $20 rebate on your entry fee?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I don't
just,
know. I mean,
well,
and the other thing is
a quite nice job of signing autographs. And
yeah, but she's also set up to sell merchandise.
Yes.
I mean, she
works it.
I think everybody in the pool industry, players, promoters, I think everybody can learn from Jeanette. I mean,
sure
I
they
know.
can. Yeah.
I mean, I know. I've learned a lot from her, and
the problem is the players have got to take it upon themselves to be a little more enthusiastic about communicating with the amateurs. You'd be surprised. Some of these players will stand in the hallway and they know that every third person's going to know who they are, and they could stand there and there's not going to be two people that know who they are, and they can't believe it.
Well, the flip side of that is I've been around a lot of these guys, and I've never seen one of them. I can't literally think of one single time that I've seen a pro player be an asshole to somebody that walked up and said something to him.
I can't say as I have either.
And so, I mean, it's,
but I hear about it, but I've never.
I've never witnessed it, and that's, I don't care who it is. I mean, to a man, I think the players as a group are great when it comes to one-on-one interaction. I think they don't seek it out.
I want to agree, and probably the promoters, and I'm one of them. I hate that word because it's because I'm really running these pro events are just as an added. It makes my event a little more of a complete package. But maybe I'm supposed to work a little bit better with the pros and say, hey, let's have a thing, Tuesday night, and you guys can give lessons. You can do this, you can do that, photo ops, this, that, and everything else, and see what happens. Give them a chance. Split the money with them. Give it all the money. I don't really care. It just let them interact a little bit, because I still firmly believe that the future of pool is the pros and the amateurs working together. And I know that there's been a lot of controversy and some, everybody's misunderstanding when I say that this USA Pool League we have will fund the pros. We're not writing welfare checks or saying, gee, we like you.
Yeah. Well, no,
it's completely misunderstood.
Right.
I'm taking it out of our end. Would you rather we just keep it and go buy a new car?
Well, no, they're going to say, no, you should give it back to the league players.
Well, the league players under the USA Pool League get over 50% anyhow.
Yeah. Well, they're saying,
as an organized league.
Well, if you're going to give it to the pros, you should give it to the league players. That's that's the one point of view.
Well,
is that, okay, if you're holding out this money for pros, screw the pros, give it back to the people who put it in.
I can understand that, but I could also say that one of the reasons why we have those funds is I already absorb all the costs because I run the BCA Pool League. So, if I didn't have the BCA Pool League, those funds would go against labor and
overhead.
So I'm in a unique position to create this. I hate the term excess money because now everybody's going to call me.
Yeah, right. Can I have some money?
It's a concept. It's not. It's functioning. It's a concept. It is working slowly, and it beats doing nothing. So
okay. The next question is: you've got this money. When are you going to do a tournament?
Oh no, I'm not saying it's going to be a tournament. It's never said it was to be a tournament. It might be we have leagues, and let's say we had 10 leagues in Montana. Well, maybe we just say, okay, whoever the players are that we work with, because it's got to be people that. It's a two-way street. You have to support us, we'll support you. If you're not going to go out and work with the leagues and everything, then you're not going to get a touch of this money. So, let's say...
and there's the disconnect right there is where you lose all the pros.
I'm real sorry.
No, I'm just telling you, that's where you're losing them. It's
because we need a new
because
set of
all they hear is, so I've got to go do this.
You have to do something. You're absolutely right.
I have to go do this before I know what I'm going to get.
No, and you'd have to make an agreement with us. You'd have to say, okay, I'm going to agree to do this, this, and this, whatever that may be. And they're not going to be hard things. They're going to be, if I'm at a tournament, I'm going to socialize. If If there's leagues, if there's BCA or USA Pool leagues in my area, I'll go spend an hour with them. I'll go there at Joe's Bar. I'll go show them how to break or be there so they can sign my autograph or whatever. So anyhow, if we had 8 or 10 leagues in Montana, part of this fund might be to pay Johnny Archer his airfare and his rent-a-car to go up there and spend 3 days just socializing, showing everybody, this is how you break. Well, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. That's how you build, I call it customer loyalty, but it's identification. That's how you, the interaction between the pros and the amateurs. It's a win-win for everybody.
Do you want me to tell you how to do it?
Please. Give the money to you.
No.
Yeah.
Whenever you get 25 grand up,
Okay.
you do a $25,000 tournament,
Okay.
free entry fee, and anybody who wants to come be a part of it, play in the tournament.
Okay.
And then the only people who get access to these tournaments are people who are a part of whatever you want to call it.
It's not a bad idea, but now what I have to do, according to you, is I have to get them to perform a touch before the tournament. Because if I just give them the money and say, now you
Sure.
got to do this, this, and this.
Well, no, I mean, the thing of it is, if you're
that's
in,
actually a pretty good idea.
no, I mean, the thing of it is, yeah, okay, before, and what you do is, you say you do it in Vegas or you do it wherever. Okay, you're in the tournament. You got to be here 2 days ahead of time, and you're going to work 6 hours a day. Where you know, and when I
Yeah.
say work, you know, you're going to go around, you're going to promote, you're going to take pictures, you're going to do this, you're going to
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can't do it like in Vegas, though, because
But
the problem is
wherever.
where they
but
need.
I mean,
yeah.
my point
Yeah.
is tangible reward
Yeah.
and exclusivity,
it's-
to where that way there's a value added. Because if you're in, you're the only guy that gets to play in these events.
That's correct. And that's one thing I'm adamant about. If you don't work with us, you are not participating. Period. Can't play.
And
It's-
what?
In this tournament.
Yeah, no,
No, I because and that's what the
no, that's
people say,
yeah. I just said that.
yeah. Okay. See, we agree.
No, I
We
mean,
agree.
anybody that wants to be a part of it, it's an opt-in situation.
Yeah.
If you opt in and you understand what the deal is, then you get a shot at money,
Yeah,
free money,
free money.
because it's no entry fee.
Yeah.
But if not, then, and to me, that's the way you would have to build Rappaport,
Yeah.
because you got to, you know, nobody's going to come work on the com. No, they've heard it too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but you got to understand who you're dealing with too. I mean, and that's all I can say is that all you have is your reputation. That's all I can go by.
Yeah.
You know, we're pushing close to the magic hour here. Anything else you want to touch on? I got a couple notes, and I'm just trying to.
What you got over there?
I don't have anything.
You've got like 4 pages of notes. Come
No,
on.
I don't. You know, I mean, like one of my head was our job description. Like, what are we doing here? And
Well, I know what I'm doing here.
well, I have
You're
no-
only here because I couldn't get another guest.
I understand. I'm a feeling. But I appreciate the opportunity to just vocalize a little bit because, you know, the billiard industry is very fractured. It's very frustrating. Most people do it because they love it. I will diverge off of that a little bit. And, you know, I'm relatively active on AZ Billiards. Not that active. 1,000 posts in like 5 years. But it's extremely frustrating to be in a thread and you have somebody come in and take it off in left field. I know it's going to happen. But it's also frustrating, and I encourage people to really call me and talk to me and everything like that. But I'm not going to talk to you unless I know who you are. I went through an unfortunate situation a couple of years ago on some threads, and I mean, I'm arguing with these people that are nameless, faceless, and it doesn't work because people get really bold and they just fly, and you know. But I pride myself in saying I'm extremely accessible on anything. I'll even talk to you if I don't know anything about it.
So basically what you're saying is you've discovered that the internet has trolls on it.
Really? And it's brutal at times.
Yeah, it'd make you nuts.
Well, it just destroys the whole. You're trying to have some real serious, intelligent discussions with a forum. It's a multifaceted discussion. You get these guys coming in from, and girls, whatever, coming in from left field. It is very frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Yes, sir. I don't know. I mean, we've got some exciting things. You got diamond tables at the Moscone Cup. You've got Joe Rogan afraid to give odds on the prediction. I'll give you a prediction if you want on TAR 22.
Hey, there's a buddy of mine, Mr. Watches. That's a
Oh.
smart cat.
I like Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I
He
think
doesn't
he's.
like me. No, that's okay. No.
No,
Wait.
nobody likes you.
That's why I'm here.
I know. You're not helping your case any. No. I think we need to wrap it up. But one thing I just want to let everybody know is tell everybody you know that's interested about TAR 23 and TAR 22. Shane and Earl, December 2nd through 4th. And then we got Raj and Oscar coming up. I look for both those guys to be blowing up Facebook. I'm going to try and get, see if I can put some kind of video stuff, if nothing else, maybe some audio with those guys together. And coming up next week on the podcast, we'll have an interview with Shane that I taped at the U.S. Open. And hopefully, keep up with your feedback. We love the threads and
that's really
stuff like
important.
that, and the messages, Facebook stuff.
When
awesome.
When you put these things on for your podcast, can you put email addresses and phone numbers at the tail end so you can how to contact us? You should be able to put because I mean, I'm real easy to find.
Yeah.
I want people to be really easy to find me, but it's just Mark G. Or Mark, either one, but at playcsipool.com. Well, it gets confusing. Whatever. Well, you said Mark. You said Mark earlier, and I tried to get him to go Mark G because we have 2 Marks in the office.
I don't know why that really struck me funny. It's Mark G or Mark or Bill. I've got all the names.
But we're also interested in topics to discuss, but just even if it's not anything to do with this, there are no new ideas. But somebody's sitting on the right idea to make some things a lot better.
Well, actually,
and they're out there somewhere. I believe
Brandon Shelf sent you one.
Yeah.
You were talking about that you liked.
It was so long, and he just sent it right to us before. But he did.
One Pocket.
Oh, right? Yeah. That was. And Ronnie Allen's the one that told me this when we had in 2004, we brought back the U.S. Open One Pocket. He says, play One Pocket to points. In other words, you play till all balls are gone. Mm-hmm. There's 15 points in a game, and you play, well, he said 50 or 100. That's too much.
Play 21 or something like that?
No, you got to play longer than that.
45.
45. So you got somebody's,
Big difference between 50, 45.
Well, a big difference to 100.
Yeah.
But, the only time I've really played that tournament was to 25, and it was pretty interesting. And Parika ran 15. Now, that kind of hurts you when you only go on to 25.
Wow.
But does
that change the game to a real offensive battle? I mean, less premium on defense?
It means every ball counts.
Sure.
And whoever's behind breaks. It's not alternating break. That's the way I learned. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie Allen said it used to be played that way. The beauty of that game is you now have a number. It's be a lot easier to handicap. Mm-hmm. If I beat you 50 to 30 and he beats me, 40. Now you've got math.
Yeah, exactly.
Really is I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
It is.
You know what I want to see played? Everybody talks about it. I've never ever seen it. I want to see 2 great players play 2-shot rollout 9-ball.
That is that's really a good game.
I've never seen it. Not by legit elite level players.
Well, it's an interesting because you get to the point where you'll practice a particular shot and you'll roll out the guy will give it to you and boom. If it's one of these long cuts down the end rail, just all kinds of things. It's really it's a different dynamic, All
right, we're 10 minutes over.
Well,
we need to wrap it up.
Cut it off.
So next week, Thursday, I don't know if this guy's going to be here or not. I'll be here. There'll probably be him because I don't really know anybody else in Vegas. So
there's a reason for that too.
Nobody's getting here until December. So, but TAR 23, we'd like to say thanks to Raj and Oscar for being a part of the action report. We're really excited for this match. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, we listened, shorter matches. You can watch this. If anybody asks where they can watch it, there's a new page on the Action Report homepage. It says podcast. Click there. There's the archive. The video and MP3 of this will be up soon.
Last week, AZ Billiards put it right on the front page.
Did they? Cool.
Yes. And it was on our...
Pro 9 put it up too.
Yeah, and it was
on... I'd like to thank Big Dave Knight for that too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Pro 9 UK forums.
And it was on Play BCA sites too. So.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Anything else you want to add? Anybody want to piss off before we go?
No.
Pretty much think you covered that?
No. This one seemed a lot more mellow than the last one. I really,
we'll see.
I enjoyed the first one a lot more, but it wasn't. you know, I'm not here to piss anybody off. I'm here to try and make things better,
Okay.
believe it or not.
All right. Thanks, guys,
Yep.
and we will catch you next week.
Yeah, we need a saying, you know, like, we need Andy Rooney in his 30-second epilogue at the
You
end.
just can't let it go, can you? Nice. That worked out good.